I'm with Camael, who is a multi-faced artist and creative visionary. And I think the conclusion of what we're basically speaking about is that we are in this war of attention and focus, and we're basically talking about how to leverage through that and to be authentic in a world that is drowning with focus being dissipated in essentially brain rot.
Yeah, and these molds that we think we need to fit in order to represent ourselves online in a certain way. So I specialize in editorial photography that I would say has an organic, elemental, mythical and spiritual element to it. And I also create my own cinematic films, skits, little mini music videos, and I create a lot of talking content for TikTok especially. I'm all around quite a creative person and just channeling that through the visuals as much as I can.
I mean, I want to talk about how we even met. We met through Threads, can I just say?
Yeah.
And how did we even start? Like, how did we even get talking?
So you released a post saying that you're looking for people to join on your podcast.
Yeah.
And I was like, sweet, she seems cool. I'll dive into that.
Uh-huh.
You had a questionnaire.
Yeah, from there I did a questionnaire, and then I made you fill out, I mean, people that said they were interested, I sent a guest request. And then we hopped on a call, spoke for like an hour, realized, okay, there's actually a lot to talk about. I thought we were going to have like a 15-minute call.
Yeah, we went deep right off the bat.
Genuinely. And then I see that we've been on the phone for an hour, and I don't remember who was like, we need to wrap it up. But anyway, after that, I was like, I have to have you as a guest. So anyway, now you're here, and I'm really happy that you are here. So you're someone who needs to utilize your creativity in order to gain success in your career. So I want to ask you, what does that process look like for you? How do you go from an idea onto a finished outcome?
Yeah, it's even more than career now. It feels like a soulful necessity.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you get. Like, there's a part of me that needs to come out and needs to be expressed. And I can't do anything other than create, it feels like at this point. Whether that is creating a new brand, a business, creating a little shoot, an editorial, creating a skit. But my process, is that the question?
Yeah,
process,
yeah.
It feels like I have very little control over the process, really. Like the idea will come and then I almost become possessed by the idea. And the best pieces that I have created that feel most aligned to what I am becoming and what I am at the moment are the ones that are like instant downloads. And then I just chase it spontaneously. And then something happens and something is created and I don't even anticipate that. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know I could actually do that. Holy shit, that's cool.
Sorry, what do you mean by downloads?
It like comes in. Like,
right. So give me like an example. Is it with your videography? Is it with your photography aspect?
Yeah. So to give an example, there's a video I created called Vibing, and it's me dancing in a church and two glass beams. If anyone has heard of glass beams, it's like kind of psychedelic, rocky from Australia. Really awesome band. But I walk into this church, I kick off my shoes, take my socks off, and I just start dancing around the church. And that came to me as I just had a meeting with a client and scored like an £800 client, and I was really struggling financially at the time. Unable to, like, struggling to buy food, afford rent, all that stuff. But I got this client and it was a breakthrough moment. I was like, I've been waiting for this. And I was driving home, sun was shining, windows down, glass beams are blasting. I'm like, hell yeah, this is fucking great. And then the idea of me dancing and vibing to this song came up, and I immediately drove to this church that was kind of abandoned in the countryside, overgrown. And I just went in there and I just filmed. And then I filmed me dancing and vibing in my celebration moment. And that was what created. And I was like, I didn't even know that was a part of me. Mm-hmm. And that is one of my favorite things I've ever created, you know.
And that's so interesting, because I feel like everyone has different definitions to what creativity means to them. And there's an essential nature and purpose to it. And that is that it helps us grow. So I feel like in that moment, you felt some level of growth and translated that into another creative form.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like my A Day on the Wolf video as well, Emergence, which is the beginning of a whole series. That came after a really challenging chapter of my life where I felt like I was just getting beaten and dragged for a long time. And I had this idea in my mind of me being like scratched up, covered in dirt, almost like I've fallen in battle, and then like pulling myself and dragging myself through a battlefield. And went straight to my mom. Mom did the makeup for me, and then I went to this hillside that was like an hour away, and then I just set up, and it was raining, and I just filmed myself pulling myself out of the dirt. And then as I was pulling myself out of the dirt, the clouds parted and the sun came out, and I felt this like euphoric bliss, and my heart just opened up, and I was able to capture that on camera, where I was like pulled myself up out of the dirt when it was raining, and I stepped towards the light, and I could feel the light again for the first time. And it was so symbolic to what I was going through. And I didn't even intend for that to come out that way. It was as soon as the clouds parted, and then I realized what the purpose and the point of that video was. And that's what I mean by downloads. Like I get this download, this idea, this vision, there's an image in my mind or a collection of images, and then I just have to go and create it now before it goes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I spoke about this in the last episode and with my previous guest, and we said that any idea not written down is a lost idea. So it's very much similar to that. But I would take that a step farther with you and say that you're a very expressive character. So going from that, what is your relationship with your creativity?
So that's something that I feel like I've only really come into over the past few years. I've been creative for quite a while. I've been pursuing the photography side of things for the past 8 years. But I never considered myself as a creative or an artist. It's taught me a lot about who I want to be and who I am becoming. I think it's been an incredible tool for self-reflection, showing me parts of myself that I didn't even realize were there.
Yeah.
Such as that like A Day on the Wolf moment where I pull myself out of the dirt and I feel the presence of the light and realizing like, oh, that's exactly what I have been going through. And now I see myself unconsciously expressing that in the art and seeing this direct reflection through what I'm creating. It's taught me a lot about archetypes and spirituality and energy and this like creative force that moves through all of us that you're almost in service to. And you don't have a lot of control, or I would say maybe you don't have any control a lot of the time.
Yeah, I don't think we have any control of that. I think we are here to just follow what we feel intuitively resonates with us. And if we don't, we just feel a huge sense of like disalignment. But
definitely,
what has it actually like taught you about yourself that you didn't know so much before?
I'm a lot cooler than I realized.
You're a lot cooler.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Yeah, fair
like I was just seeing myself.
Do you know what? Same. Like I do kind of see that in a way.
Yeah, right. You're like, oh shit, this is actually pretty dope. Like I'm down bad for my own art, you know, like
yeah,
what I create, and that's helped me realize like, oh shit, I can be confident and I can trust myself and I can be myself, because it's like myself is actually proving to be pretty wavy, and I like that.
I'm quite like, I mean, I'm quite similar but also different. I think when I started this podcast, it showed me that I'm a bit of a, I don't want to say neek, but it did highlight like my neek side to things. But then when I started music, it reflected my cool side. And then like, I don't know, it merged kind of together.
Yeah, 100%. Like you discover so much of yourself through the creation of creating art. And I think it is because there's all this unconscious material that comes up when you're creating, like the good, the bad, and the ugly, like and the beautiful, all of this stuff comes out, and there's almost like
to embrace it.
Yeah, and then you have reverence for yourself in many ways. And I feel like it's really taught me a lot about just loving myself and appreciating myself and trusting myself and knowing that like you can trust yourself.
Yeah.
And you know what you're doing, even though you think you don't know and you doubt yourself, you do know, and you can rest in that, and it's okay.
I'm just thinking back to when you said that you take such an intuitive approach to your work. What you just mentioned is a very intuitive like knowing that what you're doing is right because you just feel like it is.
I'm highly intuitive in that sense. Do you know your astrology? Sorry.
Me?
Yeah, like your moon, your sun, your rising. Do you know your birth?
I know I'm a Libra.
Okay.
I'll actually be able to tell you this.
Yeah, I'm
intrigued. Do you know Snapchat? Snapchat has this setting where you can actually know. Okay, so my sun's in Libra, my moon's in Libra, rising Cancer.
Born on a Libra new moon.
What does that mean?
Remember the gift of diplomacy we were talking about earlier?
Can I be so real? There's part of me that like finds astrology very false leading.
Yeah. And you are correct to think so, because pop astrology, modern astrology, is whitewashed ancient astrology. Like, it barely scratches the surface of what like Socrates and Plato and Hermetica, what they were studying and what they were leading. It's a whole different philosophy when you actually start getting into the ancient roots of it, like the Hellenistic roots. And even when you start studying the more modern schools, like evolutionary, that dive more into like the deeper meaning of the archetypal planets.
So I'm someone that really actually does not believe in astrology.
Okay.
So try convince me to believe.
Okay. So this world and this reality is created by archetypes. And archetypes are like the building blocks. Like, there are certain, like, the mother is an archetype, the father is an archetype, masculine is an archetype, feminine is an archetype, mythology and certain like gods like Zeus is an archetype, Prometheus archetype, and the fool or the magician, and these are archetypes, and they act as these. The best way I could describe them is building blocks. Like, everything in our reality is an expression of these different kinds of archetypes. And I think the misconception that we have with astrology is that there's these planets that are controlling us or influencing us, but that's not the case. It's reflective, it's mirroring, and they represent certain archetypes. The zodiac signs and the planets represent archetypal forms, and when they come together, they create specific combinations or delineations. And when those delineations filter down, then we see them as a thought pattern, we see them as a dream, we see them as a misfortune or a circumstance that's just happened, or some things that just happen out of the blue. So we know that when we have full moons, there's an impact on people mentally for the most part, and emotionally. We know that like kids are a bit more agitated or a bit more active in school. We know that crime rates go up on full moons. We know that there's more ambulances and emergency services that go on full moons. And we know it controls the tides and water and weird water. So there's some kind of correlation between the moon itself and us. But then I would extend that to all the other planets. When you start looking historically, you can start to see how there's a correlation between certain planetary movements and certain historical events. So when Saturn, which is considered the planet of limitation and constriction, when that enters into Aquarius, which is the sign of freedom, of collectivity, of like decentralized way of being, where we can be more free and decide for ourselves as a society and a collective. As soon as that happens, we go into a lockdown. So Saturn, the planet of restriction and limitation, hits Aquarius. All of our freedom is restricted and limited. And then there's a constant square that's happening between Saturn and Uranus. And then we go out of lockdown, back into lockdown, out of lockdown, and back into lockdown, and then out of lockdown again, and then they finally let loose, and we're out of lockdown finally.
But what I don't understand is, let's say two people born on the other side, like one person's born in Australia, one person born in UK, are born in the exact same time, exact same minute, exact same second.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean they're going to be the exact same person?
Not at all, because the archetypes can express themselves in a million different variations. And that's why they can't prove it, is because there'll be one way in which Mercury can show up as a thought process, or it can show up as our vehicle, you know? So then you can't measure it because it can come out in so many different ways. But when you start to just pay attention to certain aspects or transits, then you can start seeing how they are showing up and manifesting in a variety of ways.
But that's why I don't really believe in that stuff, because, as you say, just because two people are born at the exact same second of that time frame it doesn't mean that they could be the same person because they can translate that identity in whatever way they want.
Yeah, but there'll be certain overarching themes, archetypal themes that they'll be embodying, and that will be similar. Like, if they both have the same moon, for example, so they say they're both Pisces moons, then both most likely to be quite sensitive.
But I could argue that with everyone.
Yeah,
That's the
but
argument.
they could be, and that's a very valid argument. But they could be more expressive with their emotion. They could be more. It's difficult to explain because you have to take into account like all the aspects that the moon is making simultaneously. So if the moon's making a harsh aspect, they could be emotionally closed off, or they could be emotionally open, and you could say that for everybody, right? But there'll be certain ways in which that heart and that emotion will close up, and those are the ways that we are more looking for. It's like, okay, they're going to close up specifically around fathers or men related to topics of like career and business. So then you start looking for like deeper and deeper nuances in the similarities. It's a form of psychoanalysis, and that's why I say it's a process of self-reflection, because it's always mirroring back to what the soul is experiencing. And then what's happening collectively right now is like the collective soul is experiencing a collective theme. So like, for example, last time Pluto was in Aquarius and Neptune was in Aries, which has happened now as of the past year, they've both been in those signs. There was like the American Revolutionary War and the American Civil War. So those two planets are in the same signs, which then are correlating to another kind of like upheaval in America, which I'm not saying they're going to plunge into a war. We have no idea what's going to happen, but there's just a similar archetypal theme that's playing out.
I think astrology is good in order to, like, if someone said to me, oh, your like rising is in Cancer, this means that you're very like spontaneous, great character. I think that serves a purpose in order of making people believe that about themselves and then them acting on it. But I'm not sold on it.
That's the thing.
I'm not sold on astrology, and I get there's a lot of theory about it, and that's great. But personally, I am not sold at all.
And it honestly doesn't matter, because whether it's true or not, what matters is how it impacts you and influences you.
Yeah, I think it's a great influence. It's almost like a hypnosis, you know, when people go and get their tarot card readings and this person basically feeds them usually this amazing news of, oh, something great's about to happen. The person then leaves there with like a great mindset and then basically manifests something good. But I don't think that's because of astrology.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, it could be complete utter bullshit.
It really, I think it is. I genuinely think it is. I'm not sold. I've tried like convincing myself that I'm not sold at all. It's so generic. It's so broad. It can mean a million different things, which is what you've basically explained to me. And I think it serves the purpose of successfully convincing people amazing stuff. And I think that's what the world needs. I think the world needs hope. And I think the world needs motivation. And I think astrology that's its purpose. I think it highlights great human qualities, but I don't think it means anything.
And you could say the same for any kind of religion, any other esoteric science, any kind of form of divination, belief system, or spirituality. Any of it is like false and true simultaneously. And I think we have to hold the paradox of those things. That
I think the difference though with like, if we're talking about like religion, it's more of like a community.
Same with astrology though.
I guess so, yeah. But there aren't like astrology churches that people go to.
No.
Am I right? I feel like with religion, there's genuinely a whole, I mean, I guess you could say that with astrology, but there is like a whole lifestyle and a whole community surrounded by it. And that's the other purpose that religion serves. It's to create this amazing community. So I want to go back to what I was actually about to speak about, and it's you taking a very intuitive approach with your work. And that idea makes me want to talk about our consciousness, more so about the fact that I believe our creativity lies in our subconscious mind. And I think our problem today is that we don't allow ourselves to free ourselves into just trusting whatever we're doing. I think a lot of us hold a tight grip with what we're doing, and we're very conscious about it. And the more conscious we are, the more restricted we are, because that's not where our creativity lies. Whereas if we just let ourselves do whatever we want, trust our intuition. Sorry, that was not English. Trust our intuition in the way that you basically said that you do, then a lot of more ideas come in flowing, and they're more in tune to who we are.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know what I'm doing half the time. Almost always. I'm
Really?
just following threads, and that's, some are louder than others. Some come in immediately. When I'm shooting editorial shoots, I love it because it's like I'm catching a scent in the air, and my body just starts to move itself towards a position, and I can feel like, okay, I can smell it. Where is it? It's somewhere here. There's some kind of like entrance. And then I'm purely just feeling at that point, just feeling. And then I find the little spot, and then I can like click away, and then I start to find that little moment. And that I can't rationalize, you know. There's a certain level of structure in terms of, okay, think of composition and stuff like that. But the understanding of composition and framing is actually what helps me find the scent, in a sense. But so much of it is just body and feeling, and what feels right and feels good. And it feels really right and good for me in that moment. That's it. That's all I wanted. I wanted that little moment of like bliss, like a little taste of like, oh, there we go. I felt connected to that.
But sometimes are you scared to follow your intuition because you don't know where you're going, or does it all come to you naturally?
It's a bit, yeah, you know what? I think it is. I'm a highly intuitive person, always have been. And that's not to say that I don't have a very like loud, rational mind a lot of the time, because I do. But I think it's easy for me to trust my intuition because it's always proved more right than my mind has.
Mm-hmm.
So, and perhaps that's me gathering enough data over time to be able to surrender to it easier.
But is that because you feel like a part of yourself is reflected in that? Like, is reflected in your work?
I think it's because it always leads to some sense of
understanding.
Yeah, and satisfaction and connection and unity.
Yeah.
Unlike a more like long-term vision, intuitively it's hard, because I have all these doubts of like, well, what if this doesn't bring in the money that I need, and like, what if I end up being really unsecure and unstable, and like, then long term it's difficult to follow the intuition, but it's almost impossible for me to ignore it now. It's too loud.
And what is that exactly?
I don't know.
So what if, let's say you wake up tomorrow, what is the first thing you're following?
A routine. Yeah, but the routine is kind of a system I have in place in order to help me stay in flow and focused.
Mm-hmm.
But it's usually always like, okay, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to stretch, make a coffee, journal, and collect my thoughts. And then how I feel and what needs to be done will dictate what happens.
I want to talk about holistic and interconnected living. This topic that we talked about, where everything is basically connected.
Do you believe that?
Well, we spoke about it on the phone and it really interested me. I don't know enough about it, but I think that everything should be connected in a way in order to gain some kind of success. I think we talked about being this polymath, and that with like the new generation that is trying or successfully achieving this new polymath of, we're not doing one thing and doing it right. We're doing numerous things and we're connecting it to be this one thing. And that's like the way forward. That's how I see everything's connected. But I feel like from where we were talking about it in the past, that can mean something completely different.
When I say I think everything is connected, that is part of it for sure. but I'm also seeing the connection between how we're feeling and the actions that we take, and then the karma that happens and the life that is created and the impact that that has on the people around us, and then the relationships that we have and how that's impacted, and then how our physical health and well-being is impacted from those things, and then thus how the world, the natural environment starts to get impacted by the way that we're engaging with ourselves.
I mean, I definitely think that we need to be personally secure in ourselves before we can actually compliment anyone else. I think if we're not doing the things that we want to be doing, then how can we appear as this person that we want to be? And then how can we compliment the people around us? So I think we definitely attract the state that we are in. And if we're not doing the things that we want to do, how can we attract the things that we want?
Exactly. Like the kind of thought processes that we have are linked to how dysregulated our nervous system is, or like how fast our breathing is. And if we can slow and control the breathing down, then our thoughts follow.
Mm-hmm.
And then that will also dictate the actions that we take based on how we are feeling. So then I believe that everything is a reflection in a mirror. I believe that life is a
mirror.
Yeah, as within, so without.
Yeah, I think so too. I actually say that a lot.
And so I think everything is connected. I think like the state of your kitchen is going to be a direct correlation to this area of your life that's manifesting in a poor way,
Yeah.
And then I think like the fact that you haven't been touching the ground in a while is then causing a backlink to these negative things happening in your life over here. I think that like...
What do you mean by touching the ground?
Like just being grounded and being able to like feel the earth on your feet, receiving the electrons from the earth, which are helping neutralize the free radicals in the body, which then end up becoming cancer or other autoimmune or degenerate diseases of some kind. Or that will even be directly affecting your mental health, which is also affecting a different action, but you're unaware of it because you haven't done it in so long.
I haven't walked barefooted. Actually, I did when I was away on holiday in a hot country, but I don't walk barefooted that much. Is that something that you would recommend?
100% I would recommend it, like 1,010%. And I think it's no surprise that like most of our society doesn't walk barefoot, and we are so disconnected from nature for the most part. You know what I mean? Like we're not...
I do, but at the same time, when you're in a city that everything's so dirty, why would you want to like...
No, you can't there. That's the thing. It's way harder in a city.
Yeah.
But then that's why, like, when you're in the city, there's a completely different... Like, I get drained being in the city because I'm so used to being in nature, and I spend almost most of my time out in nature. And when I'm in the city, I can really feel it. I can feel the heaviness, the contraction. I can feel the mental and emotional pollution. And like some people are acclimatized and accustomed to that, and that's no judgment over any lifestyle in the city. But I just can tell the contrast much clearer.
My aunt actually owns these patches that she puts on her foot, like up here, every night before she goes to sleep. And she told me that she loves it because every morning she wakes up and she feels so like cleansed.
Yeah.
And she feels it. She says she feels it from her nose. It's kind of like minty and like fresh. She doesn't know if anything happens or if anything is actually like detoxifying her, but she feels very, I guess, cleansed and very detoxified.
It's the same with my mom. Like you can get these grounding sheets, and they're basically like a bed sheet that you plug into the wall, and it basically connects to the earth. So the excessive electromagnetism basically runs out into the earth and grounds. And then my mom would wake up with significantly less inflammation in her knees and in her wrists. And you can check out the grounding websites of these grounding sheets. And
what, like bed sheets?
Bed sheets, pillowcases. You can even get floor mats for your desk and like mouse pads.
Yeah,
like that.
I know someone that has these mat. Like, you know, a yoga mat. So my friend owns this yoga mat, and you actually need to plug it in. There's a plug that comes with it, and she says that it has the same, I don't actually know, like energy of what the ground would have.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. But
how does that work? Because surely when you're plugging in a mat to a plug and it's wired to electricity,
Well,
that's electricity, and then the ground is just like soil and
there's 3 plugs. The 2 bottom ones are where the electricity comes in, and the top one is the neutralizing one. And those, basically all of our electricity has rods that go straight into the ground. So if a lightning strike hits one of the power lines, then excessive energy runs into the ground rather than running into people's homes and like burning out the systems.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, so
That's really cool.
when we plug in the thing, we're basically no electricity is coming in, but excess electricity or energy is going out and going into the ground.
So
And we're electromagnetic creatures, so we have electricity.
So with this mat, how does that actually?
So the bear,
Not that you own it or
no,
anything,
no,
but I feel like
this is from my understanding.
Yeah.
Like when we are connected to the earth, or in this case, a mat that is connected to the earth, then excessive energy in our body is running out of our body into the ground. And because there's like a neutralizing effect, because now it's like there's a channel for it to leave and get out of. When we have excessive energy or there's too much electromagnetism, then we have, well, I think we have like within the protons there are neutrons that will like disconnect, and then they become free radicals. And when those neutrons become free radicals, then they start to wreak havoc. But we get we get electrons from the earth. So then when an atom loses an electron, we can take an electron and replace it. So then we're not, like there's not these free radicals that are wreaking havoc. That's my understanding of it, but I'm no scientist.
Yeah.
But
but
I can tell the difference myself.
So with everything being interconnected, how would you conclude that?
I would say that the more self-awareness that we have, the more present we are, the more aware we are of ourselves and of our world, then we can start to see how reality is constantly communicating to us, and that everything that we're experiencing is almost like a reflection of who we are and how we are living, how we are thinking, how we are feeling, how we are behaving. So that's why I say everything is connected. There's like the butterfly effect theory, right? A butterfly on the other side of the world will flap its wings and it might cause a hurricane on the other side.
Yeah.
Or when there's a dust storm in the Sahara and it flies over through the Gulf of Mexico and it creates a massive algae bloom, and that algae bloom becomes the basis of the marine food web. So there's an and then that obviously impacts the entire food system, which includes us. And that affects our whole society and our economy, because then if part of the food system collapses, then most of our system will collapse. So I mean, everything's connected, because it is, in one way or another, it's all connected.
And I'm thinking about just, I guess, like compatibility with people changing 24/7, people changing all the time. And when one person or two people change and they become uncompatible, that is a separate butterfly effect. Whether that's like families, friendships, relationships, I think everything is connected in that sense. And if someone changes, then they realign with different things that are connected to them in that state, because everything is kind of energy.
Yeah, everything is energy. That's why I love studying permaculture. And
permaculture, what's that?
Permaculture. So this is what feeds into the visions that I was telling you about of the future civilizations that I intend to. Permaculture is the study of the natural world and following natural patterns to create cohesive systems. So that could apply economically, politically, but it's mainly focused around, I would say, educationally, but organically or horticulturally. So we would, for example, I set up a company a few years back with two other guys, which was called Guy and Earth. And it was a permaculture design company where we would take people's degraded farmland and we rehabilitate it into self-sufficient food systems. So then we would create regenerative food forests, or we would take people's gardens and we would redesign the garden in a way where it was creating excessive food with as minimal input as possible. So it was a way to help people become more self-sufficient in a world that felt a bit on edge and uncertain. So people could eat organically, they could eat locally, they could have food security, but also finding ways to redesign homes and create homes in a way that was self-sufficient, that were eco-friendly, such as creating little bespoke cob homes that had their own electricity and captured their own rainwater and filtered it and used it. And all of the waste from the home would go into some kind of system that would provide additional gas to the home or be composted for the rest of the food that was growing. Mm. So we were finding ways to create regenerative systems, whether that was on farms or in homes. And it's taking that notion of permaculture where we're finding a way to work synergistically with the environment by just observing nature and understanding how it operates and works and mimicking those kind of patterns. And that goes for everything. So we could take the spider web and use that as a way to reconstruct the educational system in a way that interlinked all the different areas of study rather than separating them into separate boxes and thus disconnecting them from the possibility of them speaking of the same thing, such as like art and mathematics or
creating
biology.
Synergy out of different...
Yeah, the different parts, which our rational conscious mind likes to separate everything, to dissect it, to understand it as separate pieces, when everything is interconnected. So permaculture allows us to see the interconnectedness and find a way to make it interconnected as harmonious as possible. So then it becomes so proficient.
Definitely. I also think that seeing things and categorizing it into boxes was definitely a theme of the past. And I think us as society is actually moving past that now and actually starting to realize that everything is kind of connected. And I also think 100 years down the line, this world will look so different to how it is already looking now. And 100 years back looked so different to now.
We're on an exponential growth of evolution at the moment.
Yeah, and it's scary because it's almost like, are we going down the right route or are we about to be extinct?
That's the exciting paradox of this moment.
Because also we all overconsume so much without even realizing.
Yeah, that's part of the issue.
Yeah, and I think that's with what you did in the past. You were trying to bring this new idea of just working in an eco-friendly way without having to overconsume. But I do think that a lot of businesses and just the way that our world works, we need some kind of overconsumption in order to develop as a society, and it's a very toxic pattern.
I think we overconsume because we're masking a fundamental need of connection, purpose and meaning, which I think ultimately is stemming from a lack of self-connection.
Yeah, I think over-consuming in some cases come from filling a void.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to fill that void and feel content in that moment, but then the next second we need to over-consume again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
But I always think about this where if we imagine this is like our room, or like imagine this is my room. It's quite empty. It's quite... Oh.
That's not good.
That is not good.
Might want to ring the
doorbell.
Then one good kills?
No.
What are we talking about?
I don't know. Where were we?
Oh, God. Thanks.
Yeah.
Overconsumption. Filling a void. Shit. Like, I had the thought and then I completely forgot where we were. Well, I was actually talking about this room.
Ah, really?
And then light falls. Anyways, so our space is reflects our internal state and our internal mind. And usually when we see a room that is filled with loads of, I want to say junk, just loads of stuff, we actually don't have enough space in our minds to see clearly. But what I mean by that is to actually fill a space with our own like energy, with our own vibe. And it comes from a state of not knowing ourselves. So we need to fill that void. And in physical terms, we need to fill that void by over consuming loads of things to fill the space. So that's where I think overconsumption comes from.
Yeah, I call it all conscious baggage. There's all this like baggage in your conscious mind of all this stuff around you, and maybe it's reflective of stuff that needs addressing and organizing and thinking about and then clearing out, you know.
But I don't think people need to have 100 pairs of jeans, for example. I think I've actually just come to the point where, I mean, I think I used to overconsume a lot, and I've come to the point where I don't actually want a lot of clothes. I would rather people know the things that I wear and be like, oh, I've seen Olivia wear that top before. Oh, she identifies with, like, not identifies with that top, but like that top speaks for her, or like this outfit speaks for her.
It's part of your brand.
Rather than like rather than wearing new things every single day to express this one persona. If you're like this one person, have a few clothes to represent that. Don't keep on buying and buying and buying and buying. It just shows that you're unsure of yourself.
What's your relationship to authenticity?
So a lot of people say you should, in order to be authentic, you need to be different. But that almost puts you in this mindset of trying to not be yourself because you're trying to be different. I don't think authenticity means essentially to be different, because we're all naturally different, but we're all naturally similar to each other at the same time. So my relationship with authenticity, I get inspired by a lot of people. So I'm really inspired by Peggy Gou, and I don't know if you know who she is. She's this music producer. One of her songs went viral 2 years ago. I'm not going to sing it. I'm not a great singer, but she's someone that combines fashion and music together, and she's known for being one of the only artists that doesn't have a stylist. And I think her music is great, but I think what has truly made her to be Peggy Gou is that she's managed to express herself in different forms. And because I look up to her so much, I take that as my own inspiration, and that's what I think authenticity is. I think it's being inspired by things and taking it to mean your own thing. And I really think that authenticity comes from expressing yourself in different ways and fusing that into one thing. I don't think it means be different.
Your take on whatever's happening, like your unique perspective of life, I find. Like Mason described this really nicely, or Maitreya, where I say nicely, it's kind of vulgar in a way, but it's like a mother bird taking the food and like chewing up all the food and then spitting it out, but it's like it's reformed and it has her own like DNA in it, or her own saliva, and it's like we take this art that influences us or inspires us or whatever it is in the world, we take it in and then we digest it and then we regurgitate it in our own flavor, in our own style, in our own perspective.
So I would say that's what authenticity is.
Yeah.
I don't think you can put it in a box or give it one definition. I think there are multiple definitions for what authenticity means, but I definitely don't think it means to be different.
Okay, well, how does consciousness and authenticity relate?
I honestly don't know. I think our consciousness or self-awareness reflects obviously who we are and our understanding of ourselves, and then that will later reflect our authenticity. So whatever beliefs we have of ourselves will be translated to how authentic we are. If we have low self-beliefs, or if we think quite low of ourselves, then our authenticity will be reflected in that, in the sense that there won't be any authenticity. Whereas if we had positive self-beliefs and if we are very confident, then our authenticity will be translated in that. So I think authenticity and our consciousness is very interrelated. I think back to when, I mean, we all go through times where we have a low self-esteem, high self-esteem, low self-beliefs, high self-beliefs. And in the lows, there wouldn't be that much authenticity because there's no confidence there. Whereas like when there is a high self-esteem, high, strong self-beliefs, the confidence is there, and the confidence to allow ourselves to be vulnerable is there. I think authenticity comes from being vulnerable. I don't think you can be authentic without being vulnerable.
I would agree. Because you're almost like handing your soul and hoping that like, or not even hoping, like you're just showing your soul. And it's like, you can squash it, you can destroy it, you can love it, but that's me.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of courage. It takes, and that like...
But that's interesting that you said hoping, because I think a lot of us subconsciously do hope that people accept this, like our true selves. And that's when I say, when we have low self-beliefs and if we don't believe in ourselves, we will carry ourselves in a hopeful manner, in a very validation dependent manner. And that's not authentic. That's like, I'm chasing for your approval, so I will make my character X, Y, and Z because I think that that's what you're going to prove.
But at the same time, we are communal creatures that need connection.
Yeah.
And need validation.
100%.
So there is that like recognition of like, it will hurt, or it can hurt if this is not received and accepted. And if my authenticity is squashed or not accepted, I think it's really only an issue if you have a niggling belief that you are unworthy, like you said, and that is now confirming the fact that I am unworthy.
But at the same time, I completely get that, and like we all strive for connection. That's why we all look for people that we can relate to. But what I'm kind of getting from that is that like no one wants to be around a yes man. No. I think being a yes man comes from having a very low self-esteem and just the craving of being validated. And that's not healthy.
I agree.
Same on the flip side, there are some people that can only be around people that agree with them. That's like the extreme version of it. There are people that want to please people and like validate them, and then there's the other side of people that can't be around people that like destroy their ego and their pride. Pride's a very interesting topic. I always talk about it.
Yeah, but like we said earlier, pride is still a mask of that unworthiness.
Yeah. Unworthiness, and also just the inability of doing something. I think pride only grows to be this huge thing when we're in a state of stagnation. So when we're stagnant, life almost seems quite easy because we're not doing anything. And because of that feeling of easiness, that's where our pride comes in. But the second we actually go out and try to do something, the first thing that's getting attacked is that pride. Yeah. And then we feel that difficulty that we've become so distant from. And because of it, we just feel like we're getting hit by a bullet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the necessary humbling.
Yeah.
That's
so people that are very, I think we're all prideful. I think we all experience moments of humbling, but there are people that are so immune to it that it's almost like starting something is like alien to them. And that's what's scary, because I think we're all here to create and do, and naturally that takes humbling and that takes difficulty, and the difficulty is there for a reason, to teach us something and to grow into it, because we wouldn't be starting something or learning something if we already knew how to do it.
Yeah, and I think if you're in love with the process of learning, then the humbling isn't really humbling. It's
and that's the flip side.
Yeah. It's like,
surely you wouldn't be prideful if you wouldn't carry pride with you if you love the process so much.
No, I would agree, actually. Yeah.
So I want to just like summarize this topic of overconsumption on how we basically become disconnected from the creative process, which is what we're kind of saying with pride. So it does a very similar thing where like it does just disconnect us from wanting to, if we have a vision of something and we want to achieve it, we almost can't because we're just used to the final outcome, because we keep on over consuming, and what we're consuming is a final outcome of something. So if we actually want to start something, we don't know how to. That natural instinct of creating a whole project is gone because we're only used to the outcome. Also on social media, we only ever see the final outcome a lot of the time. So I think today it's very difficult to actually start something and persist in it. I mean, it's easy because we have like the network and we can communicate with so many people online. But the disadvantage is that we all overconsume, so we don't know what it feels like to create a final.
Yeah. Like I feel like that will come in any kind of era. There'll be the challenges and the difficulties, but there'll also be the incredible benefits. Like you said, like right now we have an incredible ability to get inspiration from so many different sources, to get all the information we need to actualize a vision, to make the networks and get the resources, and to be able to make our dreams lucrative. Like incredible. But then we also have to face the incredible disadvantage of confronting ourselves and our addictive behaviors and our escapisms and our overconsumptions, and having to face those things and have hard reality checks ourselves in order to overcome those things to get the benefits that the internet or this digital world is starting to present to us. Yeah, like the overconsumption is the big thing that I've been learning a lot more, especially because like, when was it? It was a few weeks ago. I was walking down the canal and I saw like 5 little baby ducklings that fell into one of the lifts, the canal lifts, and they were stuck, and the mum was freaking out and trying to get the babies out. But obviously couldn't do anything. So I was like, oh fuck, I got to try and save these ducklings. And I set my bag down, I put my phone in my bag, and then I went round to try and help the ducklings, and the mum freaked out and flew over my bag, and my phone just slipped off and fell into the water. It was fuck. So I like stripped my clothes, dove into the canal. That was so deep. Like I didn't realize how deep those barge bridges go.
Your phone out?
No, it was gone, man. Like Aquaman's got that. That was like, so I scuba dived for that thing and I couldn't even get to the bottom, and I came out like covered in algae, and I was just like,
oh my god,
what the fuck, man? And then I just see the ducklings. I couldn't help them because they were freaking out. I ended up like sprinting down to a canal company and then getting a net and like fishing them out, but lost my phone in the process. I didn't have a phone for a good like week and a bit after that. And it was amazing. I was like, holy shit, that thing really hijacked me, you know? And I was just sitting there for hours, just like in the woods, where I'd usually check my phone in between. I usually take the Olympic rings out and I like do my workouts in the trees and stuff. And in between my sets, I'd be checking my phone. But this time I'd literally sat there and stared at everything, staring at the light, staring at the fractals that were coming out of the ground from the reflecting light. And I felt so present, so tuned in, and I wasn't consuming anymore, and I was getting amazing downloads, like all these ideas coming to me, and like I felt so clear on what I was doing and where I was going. The fog went away, you know, the doubt went away,
the escapism
went away, and it was the best thing that could have happened to me. Losing that primary source of navigation, my phone, allowed me to tap into a greater sense of navigation, which was my own self, you know.
100%.
And I think that's what so many of us miss, because there's so much noise, bombarded with noise all the time. But like, how often do any of us really stop? Like, I went on my work break with a couple of people the other day, and we sat there for 20-30 minutes, and then one guy was like, that was the longest I've gone without checking my phone. I was like,
seriously?
We need to get outside more, man. Like this, like as a society, we are starved.
I think a lot of us just escape at this point.
Yeah.
Well, I don't actually think it initially came from escaping. I think there's so much psychology behind the things that we watch, because obviously now our attention spans are like our biggest assets. Our focus is our biggest assets. So these apps of social media, like they try capture our attention in some way to gain some kind of advantage, whether that's like profit or selling their business to us. But over time, that habit of scrolling has now led us to want to escape to that, because it instantly gives us this like soft cushion of comfort,
Of dopamine.
and also of
Dopamine.
comfort.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of us feel so comfortable when we're on our phones, and
For temporarily.
yeah,
it's
and
like a
that's
moment.
when we go back to like the real world, we just can't wait to go back on our phones.
You realize how uncomfortable you are in the real world.
Yeah,
Which
definitely.
That's a big red flag, you know. And like you said, like attention is the primary force, is like the primary currency these days, you know.
No, it is.
Attention is your money, and your attention dictates the kind of world that is created entirely. So what you focus on expands, and everyone is trying to get your attention to expand their own individual realities. So you have to find a way to ensure that you are intentionally choosing where you're putting your attention in order to create the kind of world in which you envision. So any creator, any podcast, anyone that has the same like moral compass and guidance that stands for that kind of world, a world that's more moral, that's more integral, that's more hopeful, that's synergistic, that's harmonious. Like we put all of our attention on there as much as we possibly can, because our attention will give them money, will give them exposure, will give them recognition. And then same with ourselves, we give ourselves more of that attention. We get the exposure, we get the recognition.
I think the worst thing that we can do to ourselves, such a simple habit, but the worst thing that we can do, wake up and pick up our phones first thing.
100%. Oh mate, that sets me off for the day.
It
like
is, I feel a difference, because obviously there are times where I actually do wake up and pick up my phone. But recently I started doing that again, and it's not great. But in the past, for the first like 6 months of this year, I genuinely set that as like a New Year's resolution that I don't want to be doing that for the majority of my time. But I think like when you go on holiday, you just somehow break the habit. Not great. But anyway, I felt a huge difference.
It does. I try to follow that rule, like 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours before bed.
Yeah, 2 hours before bed as well, because then also the last thing that you see before you go to sleep somehow sets up your subconscious mind.
Yeah, it's when your brain starts going into theta brainwaves, and you become like the conscious and the unconscious become malleable. So whatever you're installing into it, when you're like your brainwaves are dropping, they become acted out unconsciously way easier. So you got to be very careful. Same when you wake up in the morning, you know, what you're consuming. Like I just threaded this the other day where I said, before you give anything your attention, give yourself and your environment your attention first.
And today it's so hard for people to actually do that.
Yeah, like again,
we instantly just want to like give up on ourselves and just like pick up our phones and just lose ourselves in it.
But I feel like in all of us, our souls are gagging for us to come home. They're calling you to come home.
And because we don't realize that that's the issue, we feel like there's something wrong. So we think the only solution is, oh, let me pick up my phone and just like enjoy some short-term dopamine.
Yeah.
It's really scary.
There's something far juicier than that, man. Like there's something so fulfilling and so satisfying and purposeful. And it is following the call of your soul that you can't hear when you're numbing, when you're on your phone, when you're consuming.
We're sabotaging ourselves, we're sabotaging our creativity, we're sabotaging our potential. And it's sad to say, but it's again that like sink and swim theory, where if half of us are swimming, then the other half are sinking in some way. And I don't want that to be the case, but I do think that in big cities especially, it's sink and swim. And it's sad.
Yeah, there's so many people drowning. And I think so many people I think a lot of people are aware that they're drowning, but aren't aware on how to stop or get out of it just yet.
I think loads of people look for like short-term fixes.
They do, yeah.
And I don't think short-term is actually a good way of looking at stuff.
No, but that's kind of the social media consumption. It creates that like immediate gratification. I need an immediate solution to this. When a lot of the solution does come from long-term thinking, it's small actions compounded over time that actually create massive results. And it's like those micro little habits in the day, those small things that you can do. Okay, today, half an hour when I wake up, I'm not checking my phone.
100%.
You know, simple little thing. You can start doing that each day.
And if you can't do that, then you basically can't sit with yourself. And if you can't sit with yourself, how can you actually expect yourself to go in the direction that you want to go if you can't even sit with yourself? It's embarrassing.
It's sad. And like My
I don't
heart,
even think it's sad. I actually think it's so embarrassing.
but I think so many people they do the best that they can with what they have available a lot of the time. And some people just don't know. They just don't know. And it's like God bless the people in ignorance who just would do something better if they knew otherwise. And maybe I think that's part of our service here is as anybody is to help increase consciousness or bring awareness to people in some way, shape or form, to activate, to inspire, to empower, to expand and ignite consciousness, to become increasingly aware of ourselves. And as we do so, then we become more soulful.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I do think that part of our world is expanding and growing. But there's also the other half that just isn't and is just really taken back and is almost drowning and numbing their mind. Our brain is a muscle. And if we keep on scrolling, doom scrolling, that's the saying, we're loosening our grip to life. We're loosening our innate ability to step outside and be present and to actually feel what it's like to be here. And it's so sad. But I also do think that we are growing in some way, but it's just hard to kind of navigate through that and understand where we're actually going. I think a lot is happening right now at very fast speed.
Where do you think we're going?
I don't know. I do think there's a really strong divide, for sure. I think that in the past, that divide was determined by education. But I think now that the majority of the world have so much access to technology, that education isn't the problem because there is so much free education online. I think the divide that we're going through now is how we want to take in that knowledge and education that is being thrown at us. If we consciously decide to digest knowledge in a smart way that works for us, then we have a huge advantage and we're actually very knowledgeable of the world and we're actually building a healthy life. But then the other side of that is if we're digesting fake news, lack of knowledge, brain rot, and we're drowning in that. That's a divide that I see today.
Yeah, it's like the integration of knowledge.
Yeah.
Right, like there's excessive amounts of information. You can learn anything you want, really, in the entire world. But it's the integration of what you know that I think will be the defining factor. I heard Neville talk about this. What's his last name? Neville. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Well, he's a very famous writer. And he said something along the lines that intelligence is defined by your ability to get what you want and to achieve an outcome. And I think that really stands the test of time for me, because it is like, if you're intelligent but you can't dictate your reality or you can't influence your world in a certain way, there's no application of that intelligence, then what use is it? That will really test our ability to be able to take the information that we're receiving constantly and finding a way to actually apply it to real life circumstances and embody it into something more tangible and real. And those that can do that, who know how to learn and how to embody it, they'll be the ones that will really be able to learn how to shape and shift matter to be able to control or dictate their reality in the way that their soul desires.
So because we have this potential ability, you said you want to talk about our service to the world. How would you take that and how would you use that as our service to the world?
I think we all have a service to the collective in order to help make the world a better place, because we are all connected. We're all part of one organism, basically, each playing our individual parts but still connected to the whole. And the well-being of the system will directly correlate to our individual well-being. So we have a service, and I mean the indigenous people of America taught this very well in their tribes, with thinking in terms of the next 7 generations after them, and everything that they did was somehow connected and correlated to them. So they would tend to the land and look after the land with them in consideration. I think these days we've become so self-absorbed and fixated on our own egos that we have lost sense of the wholeness And part of our innate purpose is to contribute to the wholeness, to expand the wholeness, to evolve and grow as a species and as individuals. I think we are driven by a purpose to give back in some way, to have some kind of legacy, to have a purpose, right? That transcends us as an individual. And we need to find our own personal way of giving back to the world. And like we talked about before the podcast, usually your unique contribution will be the combination of your unique interests, that you will create some kind of amalgamation or cross-pollinated idea or niche that you get to give to the world. And that will be the unique spark that you get to bring. And that will help expand consciousness in some way, because you will see things different than anybody else will, because you're different from everybody else. One of the key services I think that we have to humanity is to completely and utterly be ourselves, to love ourselves and to offer ourselves. And I don't mean that in some sacrificial way, but I mean in it like, I know my worth and what I'm good at. Let me offer this. Let me give this to the world, because I know this part of me is worthy. I know this is worth something and it will help somebody. And the more that each of us can honor that like little unique spark of service that we all have, then the world's going to become quite a beautiful and profound place, I think, as we make huge breakthroughs in all sorts of arts and services and technologies.
Definitely.
Systems.
But I do think it's also hard to find that nowadays, because again, we're being thrown with so much overconsumption, so much media, that also a lot of the time people have so much pressure to reach people's expectations. So because of that, it does make it quite hard to kind of understand what our spark is. It kind of highlights our human potential rather than where a lot of us are right now. There could be someone that you can approach and say, what are your key interests? And they could be like, drugs and alcohol.
Partying, going out.
Not so much going. I mean, I think there's so much beauty to going out and partying and music and nightlife. I think there's so much to be said about that in a beautiful way. But some people's hobbies are just. I could be someone that just has an interest in drugs. How can I contribute to society?
You can then study like why. Why do you have an interest in drugs? What is it giving you? What's it providing you? What are you connecting to in this pursuit of that?
Yeah, I guess it kind of answers a few questions.
Then you
might addiction and escapism.
Yeah, then you might start going into like therapy and then finding some way to create interest in you. Or then you start getting into like neuroscience and thinking, well, what's happening in my brain to correlate this? So like you start getting into esotericism and spirituality because you're like, oh, actually, I'm connecting to something greater and higher in this.
There is actually this artist that experimented with loads of different drugs, and when he was on a different drug he would start drawing. And did you see that?
Yeah, really,
it's really cool. So yeah, I mean, I guess everything is a creative journey at the end of the day, and like we all have our own definitions to what creativity is, and we all translate that in our own way. I think our number one obstacle today is overconsumption, and I think we all face some struggles with it. And it's sad, but without a hurdle, how can we know that there's something to be accomplished at the end of the day?
It's true. It is oftentimes the way. The obstacle is the way a lot of the times.
I think feeling friction, feeling obstacles makes us feel more challenged, therefore more motivated to actually...
Which actually propels and accelerates evolution, right? Which I think is this pivotal point that we're in as a collective, as we are shifting into a whole new epoch or state of consciousness for the collective, because we are reaching such a critical mass point in our evolution where there has to be some kind of radical change or different approach to life, because it doesn't seem to be working across the globe.
Yeah.
So something's got to change. I think that's the exciting period that we are born in at the moment, that we are about to
definitely,
or aiding the transition of the shifting into a new age, a new epoch.
So what do you hope to give to the world with your creativity?
I think
because everyone has their own channel of personal expression that comes from having your own ideas and then translating that into the physical world. So you have that with your videography, photography, and you like to channel ideas through that. There's me that likes to channel ideas through communication with this and through music and fashion. So what would you like to bring to the world with your own creativity?
I want to spark something in people, whether that is like a curiosity, a wonder, a connection where they feel inspired, they feel seen, they feel validated, they feel understood, they feel there could be more, that they could be more, that they could actually change things. I want to empower people. I want people to realize that you have so much influence in this world. Like, we are all creators. We are like profound creators of worlds. We are creating this world. And I don't think people really realize how much influence they have in the world that they create. And I would like to spark that in people. I would like people to see my art and be like something moves in them, like their soul stirs and turns over and shifts something in them consciously. I see this incredible future where we are living harmoniously together, where we're living synergistically with technology and nature.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think you should really make a short film about technology.
I will eventually.
I think also
coming in time.
I saw ironically on Instagram, I follow this art account. It's called like Art Dose or Daily Art Dose, something like that. And this photographer made a shoot with different people in different scenes of what it looks like. So imagine right now I'm sitting here and I'm just on my phone. So what this photographer did was take the photo, but right before he took the photo, and let's say you're also on your phone, he took away the phone. So he made the people in his photo basically sit like this. And you would see different environments of people on their phone. So the first one with this couple in bed, face backwards to each other on their phones, but there wasn't any phone. And that, I mean, obviously everyone knows that it's so bad to scroll and to be on your phone, but something about that photo really hit different. And it wasn't just that one, it was all of them. People grocery shopping, scrolling on their phones. It's just seeing people's heads down and not up.
Yeah. We used to look to the stars, you know.
We still do. It doesn't come naturally though, I will say that. I've been aware of my posture, and typically when I walk, I actually walk looking at the ground. And I know that's so bad because I think that's because I'm on my phone and I'm just looking and like texting or whatever. And I think naturally my body posture reflects the fact that I'm on my phone. I don't think I'm the only one. And I always do try to look up and look at the trees and absorb as much light as I can in that sense.
There is incredible information that's spread worldwide rapidly, which increases our awareness. And like all kinds of messages and like our ability to create our businesses and stuff like that. But it is like we just need to be mindful of the consumption. Don't let it consume you. And I think that's the issue that we're in. It's the social media is consuming us, and we're degrading and degenerating for the most part.
We're not consuming.
Yeah,
social media is consuming us 100%.
Yeah, and we're getting there slowly. I think we will eventually, but I think it's going to take a lot more turmoil and challenge, unfortunately. I think there's still a lot of catalyzing events that need to happen in order to really shake people up, because we are in a gnosis as a collective. But I have high hopes. I really do.
Yeah,
I'm very...
You are, and I feel like on nature as people will shake that challenge off. And because it's destroying us, we will come to terms with it and we'll realize it and we will survive. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not survive, but we'll realize what is good and what isn't, and we'll get better at it. It's like, you know how back in the day everyone went around smoking cigarettes like on the plane, and now today we will realize the danger of it. So there are obvious restrictions. And I think that is the same right now, because we overconsume social media as much as they overconsume cigarettes.
Yeah, so there'd be like signs in coffee shops that say no scrolling rather than stuff like that.
Like,
I rate that. You know, I really rate that.
Really
like,
do.
let me go to some.
I mean, actually, I don't know if I could see that happening. Definitely not in coffee shops, but there could be some places that would say sorry, no phones.
Yeah.
I mean, there already are. Like, there are some clubs that you're not allowed to like speak to people on the phone. You can't call people. You can't video. You can't really be on your phone. And I think there's a beauty in that.
I think so too. I think that allows us to reconnect again. You know.
Yeah, and I think the conclusion of what we're basically speaking about is that we are in this war of attention and focus, and we're basically talking about how to leverage through that and to keep our authenticity and our creative spark, and to be authentic in a world that is drowning with focus being dissipated in essentially brain rot.
Yeah, and these molds that we think we need to fit in order to represent ourselves online in a certain way, or to even navigate the world in a particular way. Like the secret, I think, to a lot of this is just coming back home to yourself, being yourself, and spending time with yourself. And then the more that you do that, the more your true essence and soul and spirit can really come forward, and then naturally you will offer your gifts, you will offer your service, the world will benefit, we will evolve for the better, you will feel more fulfilled and purposeful.
Yeah, and a lot also what social media and just technology is encouraging, not on purpose, but isolation. Because it gives us that validation or that dopamine that is sometimes quite hard to find in real life social settings.
Yeah.
So we might find it more comfortable to sit in that space rather than actually go out and interact with people. And I also thinking back to like COVID times where we were all isolated and we were all on our gadgets and people started working from home. When that ended and we all had to go back into reality, we were all kind of socially awkward, or like it was kind of weird to catch up with living normal day-to-day life in that sense. I remember
then there's many people who are still stuck in that. And you can see it as well with some of the kids who lost some fundamental years of schooling through those years, and their ability to socialize is different. It's a bit of a social epidemic, because we are so interconnected, but yet we've never been so disconnected and alone.
So
right?
True. So true. It's so interesting.
And it's no wonder that we have so many issues in society when everything is interconnected and we have cut ourselves off from all of it.
Yeah, so many issues, but also so many solutions.
There's so many solutions. There's so many solutions. That's the incredible thing. Like, all of the solutions are there. This like futuristic world that I have in my mind is, we have the technology to do it. We just have to choose it. And we choose it through our attention. And the more what you pay attention to will expand. Like I said, it will just keep feeding itself and growing and growing and growing. And it's just, we have to decide which world are we paying attention to the one that's kind of collapsing and falling apart and coming disconnected, or the world that's growing and building in front of us, the new one.
What's your final message to conclude this whole conversation, would you say?
That's such a big question. I would say that your spirit and your soul is calling you home always, and we have to make the time to listen to it. You're not alone. No one is alone. We are all interconnected and all going through this together, and we can find a way to create a better world. And the best way that you can do that is just to love yourself, connect with yourself, have compassion with yourself, and follow all of those little threads of interest that you have, those curiosities, those magnetisms. That will lead you home.
Yeah.
I think that's what I would say.
I think we just need to follow our intuition rather than ignoring it and filling a void through losing ourselves to a lot of media that is built based on keeping our attention wired to it. And I think we accidentally self-sabotage ourselves by not sitting with ourselves and giving ourselves the time to expand our knowledge and also understand ourselves. So I would say my final message is we just need to do the uncomfortable things. We need to sit with ourselves. We need to listen to ourselves. We need to be vulnerable. That's the incredible cost of being a human being. I think today it's so easy to judge, but that judgment is coming from a place of not doing anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, the people that are typically judging are the ones that find it difficult to start anything. So we just need to start doing and doing and doing. And the more we do, the less we judge, because we're too occupied to even think, you know? So that would be my final message.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Make that switch between being a consumer and being a creator.
Yeah.
Recognize that whether you're, I'm not talking about content creator, just a creator. You are a creator rather than a consumer.
100%.
That helped me massively.
Yeah.
That I'm going to contribute to this rather than
Definitely.
it take me up.
Well, thank you so much for coming on here.
You're awesome, man. I just want to say that. Like,
So are you.
you're very cool what you're doing. Thank you.